Hello there and welcome back to TNA. How's it going today? Because we are talking more TNA wrestling shenanigans, and we've actually got to be able to talk about Final Resolution. Hey, they're actually putting matches out there, but still, it's like it is a month away, but still, it's so like, no, I don't know. A lot of this is going to feel like, so what, I think as well. Like I always say this as well. Like a lot of these more minor shows, and this is why a lot of people don't really tune in for these shows. Because yeah, sometimes it's a little less major. There's not as much going on. Somebody hasn't been built up for like 3 months, 6 months, a year, or whatever else it is, realistically, and you've kind of seen this train on the tracks coming along, but whatever. It is what it is, like, so we've got to preview this and we've got to review it. We reviewed the last one, and despite them turning around in a day, they still had a pretty decent show, but none of it had any build. But then again, even with a month's build, I find that a lot of these shows, again, still don't have a lot of substance to them because, yeah, you can't do much with a month. But at least you do have that month, and it's like, oh, okay, let's tell a story here for this month. I guess I'm gonna start with the main event because, like, again, this is the thing that's gonna supposedly. Well, I think like the tickets are going pretty well, so I don't want to say too much about selling extra tickets, but I think they're going pretty well. I actually might have a look in a minute after we have. Actually, no. You know what? I'm going to have a look now. We're gonna look now before I discuss this. Let's see, because we looked before, I believe. I don't remember when, but I think it was like back before Turning Point. So let's see, because I think, wow, okay, more than half the arena is basically sold out, and the other half of the arena is basically halfway to a third sold out. Like the ringside area is almost all sold out. There's only like a couple of tickets left, maybe like, what's this? Maybe 10 at the most. Or so roughly. So yeah, like there's not that many tickets. I mean, I could look at WrestleTix and get an exact number, but just like looking at this, they've sold easily over half the tickets to a third of the tickets for this show. There's probably 2/3. Yeah, probably 2/3. There's only probably a third of the tickets left for this show. So it's going to be good. It's actually weird that TNA, WWE, and AEW are all having shows in Texas in January, so it's a bit of a weird situation, but whatever. Anyway, now let's discuss the match, supposedly, or one one of the matches. This one mostly, I guess, that is to be quote unquote the drawing card of this show. Frankie Kazarian versus JDC. I think like since we got that announcement that JDC said, "Hey, I'm gonna retire." Hey, this is kind of cool. I don't know that totally 100% he's earned it. I don't know. Maybe like this is what I was thinking. Maybe you should have saved it to Genesis. But the thing is, that's gonna be really tough because like you're building up somebody that you're probably not gonna have win, so to speak. So why spend like 2 months doing it, I guess? And it's like, again, JDC, not, I don't want to say over the hill, but he's in that older generation now. He's been around for a long time. He's been doing this for a long time, and, it's got to be killing his body, You don't do this without it killing your body. You know, even how safe he is, he only does like one move off the top of whatever else it is, basically. So, but still, that's a big leg drop from the top. That's got to be hurting his spine. So, you know, but like, and they've just started to build this, I guess. You know, so you've got a way or a ways, a few weeks to go, about 2 weeks really, to go to get to this matchup. So you can do a few things. I mean, you've had him win a match, or, you know, a singles match, a pretty significant singles match. So, you know, that's something, you know, but like realistically, I like nobody or their grandmother, not even his grandmother or whoever, his wife or his mom or whoever, like maybe they'd believe, but like even they can't believe that he's gonna win, you know. Realistically, he's not winning, you know. No way, Jose. Sad to say. But yeah, like I said this before, when some other things happened, it's like here's the hot potato with the title and whatnot. So I really feel like when you've done that, you need to stop. You need to stop and say, right, we need to stop for 6 months. We need to pause. We need to get to this point in 6 months or whatever it is, or in a year. And that's where we need to be. We can't keep, you know, throwing this hot potato around. But yeah, so very interesting. Well, not very interesting to see what they're going to do to build this up, I guess. So that's where I think the interest lies, so to speak, in seeing what promos and what matches lead up to this. And I suppose it's going to be a fine match, so... But I feel like the obvious is Kazarian's winning this. So, yeah, we'll keep looking at some of these matches. Now, there is another match here that I don't want to talk about quite yet, but we will get to it very soon. So I will talk about it at the end because it does contain a spoiler. I've already put together a video about that specifically, or more specifically, about that spoiler. So that will be up later on the channel. So we're going to move along to the Hardys versus Tyson DuPont and Tyreek Igwe. These are the guys that were part of Wesley's faction, or whatever you want to call it, stable, whatever. He was mentoring them. So, yeah, these are those guys, okay? If you don't remember, which, like, I wouldn't blame you because they basically didn't do anything. They appeared like a handful of times. I think, was it Tyreek or was it Tyson who had a match on TNA? I can't even remember who it was against. But yeah, one of them had a match on Impact maybe a couple months back. But yeah, now this is the match. So you've got the titles on the line, I guess, here. But I just, like, with this NXT faction invasion, I almost feel like you almost should pull the trigger on this, but I almost feel like it's not the right time to do it. And it's not, like, been really built up enough. It sort of has, but it sort of really hasn't. But it would be, like, almost the best thing to do. So, I don't know. It's a tough one in that regard of saying, well, should they? I think they should actually pull the trigger. Will they becomes the harder question, I feel like. I think that's where you've got to say, okay, would they or will they? And I feel like if you're looking at this card with a lot of these NXT TNA crossover matches, and there's a few more on this one that we'll have to keep talking about, but I think you've got to have almost 50-50 booking on a lot of these sorts of things. You can't have the TNA guys go over too many of the NXT guys, and you can't have too many of the NXT guys go over on the TNA guys. So I really don't think I've really made a decision, or really can make a decision on this one. I'm going to say that we're going to have to wait and see a little bit more with this, because I would actually think that this would be good if they did it, but I don't know that they would do it. So I think right now, I think it's 3 in total, I think. Yeah, it's 3 in total NXT versus TNA matches. And this is all stemming from that attack that sort of happened recently. So you've got Macklin versus Stax. What the heck of a name is Stax? I have no clue what's going on there, but and at least Tyreek and DuPont or whatever, their names are a little bit confusing, I guess, because they're TNT, you know what I mean? So it's very easy to confuse them, so it'd be easier if one of them was something else or whatever. But then again, it's maybe they have been a tag team for a while, I think. So it's well, that synergy, I don't know. But anyway, but I don't have any clue who this guy is, basically. He's some NXT guy. That's it. That's all I've got. At least with Charlie Dempsey, who I'll be talking about in a second, I know who he is. And we've seen him before, and he's done some stuff. So, but the thing is, with a lot of these NXT TNA matches, like I just said, we've already seen Dempsey do some stuff, and he really didn't he was here and he had a couple matches or whatever, but he hasn't really done anything. But and I don't really want to talk about his bat shit, but I guess I'm sort of skirting around it, but it's a lot of it feels if you're are you really going to keep bringing this same guy back, even if he's a really good performer and he's not going to do anything? I feel that's a bit of a slap in the face. He's not going to win. He's not going to be here to win. He's just going to be here to job or whatever. So that's what I mean by 50-50 booking. TNA can get the advantage sometimes, but NXT has to get the advantage sometimes as well. So, you know what I mean? But at the end of the month, or at the end of the week, or at the end of the year, or whatever else it is, you're kind of almost 50-50, type thing. But you've got to keep it TNA is the underdog most of the time, so that you can keep telling this story. And it would be much better, again, same situation here with Macklin, that if somebody from NXT won that title, and I said before, I am sort of sick of the NXT experiment. If they're not going to sit here and say, okay, no, we are going to send you these guys for 6 months or a year or whatever it is, because that's what we're going to do. We don't have enough plans for them, or we don't have enough TV time for them, or what have you. Whatever it is, we just don't have it. Again, we can't be bothered with these guys. We don't see enough in them, or we see something in them, but they haven't really cracked the thing that we want them to crack yet, so we want to get them more experience, whatever it is. There's all sorts of reasons, and some of them are, multiple reasons sometimes. So, that same thing, back to this guy. Who is he? No freaking clue. That's what I mean. That's your problem right there. You haven't made an impact. No pun intended, because the show's Impact, guys. Come on. But yeah, no, who are you? You haven't done anything. You haven't won anything. You haven't been anywhere. Or haven't made a big enough name for yourself for somebody like me to know who you are. And I'm like, I'm a wrestling nerd. I'm not the biggest wrestling nerd, but again, if then you're going to talk to a casual audience member, they would have zero clue who you are. They wouldn't even know you're in NXT or that you're probably even a wrestler. They'd be like, who's this guy? Is he like a fan or something? What's going on? You know? But yeah. So with Stacks, I kind of like am a little bit closer on Macklin winning because he has just won that title. So I feel like, and he has been in that like picture for a while of saying he could be in that upper main card for a while. So I kind of feel like you might have kind of that thing there where he does win and prevails. I don't know. So, but yeah, I kind of feel that way about this one because at least like I don't know. The TNA tag titles have been on the line against NXT superstars. The international title has never been up against an NXT superstar. Today's not the day to change it, I don't think, or this event or this time is not the time to change it, I don't think. There's not enough reason for me to believe or think that the story would be benefited by him winning. Yes, you could argue that it could be, but like, again, I don't know. It's like really tough to say, but I'm more solid on Macklin winning this one. All right, I'm going to go to Santana versus Charlie Dempsey. And I feel like since Santana's like your top guy and you're trying to sort of rehab him in some ways or what have you, like, maybe he doesn't need to win, but then again, like, he's the top guy, so he really kind of needs to win. So I kind of feel like Santana more so than Dempsey is going to win here because, like, again, like, at a certain point, I said it before, it feels like it's a little bit of a slap in the face to Dempsey keep, being sent over here. And Tyreek and whatever their names, TNT, I'm just going to keep calling them TNT because I keep getting confused between the two of them and how to say their names. But yeah, but between that, it's like, these guys keep getting sent over here because they're still in the same boat, so to speak, because they're still in the same position that they've been in since like last year or whatever it was, or middle of this year, so 6 months ago or whatever it was, 6 months to a year ago. So they haven't really progressed and really haven't got to the point that I think Triple H and NXT and Shawn Michaels want them to. So that's why they're coming back again. So, and like the story makes sense. They've kind of been involved, like at least like Dempsey and TNT have been involved in this angle the whole way through thus far. This new guy, like, is he the guy that, I think he's the guy that's dating Ariana Grace, isn't he? Stacks or whatever his name is. This guy. So yeah, I think that's him, isn't it? So I could almost then foresee this whole thing of him like winning the title like in that way. So maybe I'm wrong because then he could like try to hold that over Santana or try to get rematches from Santana through his daughter and all of this sort of stuff and blah blah blah. And then finally Santana's able to, show Ariana he's a big piece of doo-doo and, send him packing, so to speak. That'd be a better story in some ways, but then again, it's like, well, then you're kind of like, it's about Santino, about to say Santana, but it's not about Santana. Oh, Santino, God, I keep getting it confused. But yeah, it's not about Santino, it's about whomever is the guy or gal or whatever, but, Santino, bloody oath, can be involved in that. he can be part of that. He can be, you know, there in that. He doesn't have to just be null and void to in this to you know, this feud or whatever, or in this story. He has to play a part, you know, but because he's already involved in it. So you would expect that he's going to be continually involved in it. So actually, now thinking about that, that could be a really good thing. So I almost feel like now I've almost changed my mind on those matches. But it's like, I think actually in some ways it's almost perfect, because you could look at it like, again, and this is what wrestling is. Wrestling is about elevating stars. You know, we've got to get these NXT and TNA stars to be in prominent people's minds. Like I say, like all these guys, like who are in TNA, all of them are superstars in their own way, but like a lot of people who are more casual fans probably have never heard of any one of these guys, which is a big shame, but it is the way it is. So you can't really help that sometimes. It is what it is. So I'm not just picking on these NXT stars for saying, hey, you know, you suck or whatever. No, or because no one knows your name or whatever, or barely anyone knows who you are, or I don't know who you are, or basically don't know who you are, or whatever. And this is probably one of my first like things of experiencing like something in regard to you. And like I think was it when Santino got attacked by, was it Dempsey, or was it somebody else? Somebody, and like Stax was there standing around and being like, oh, I don't know what's going on, shrugging and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's a place where the strength in numbers also with this faction can sort of start to work. Like if you have TNT Express over here beat the Hardys and Stax beat Macklin, then it's one of, like I said before, it's one of those things of like, yes, I'm sick of the experimentation, but it's like I'm only sick of it when it's like, dude, you can't hot potato this title, so don't hot potato the titles. That's it. Just do it for 6 months or whatever. Do a story for 6 months. And I've been annoyed like that the mid card and like, well, I would say that most people put the tag team titles into the mid card division. So, you know, it is what it is, but whatever. I don't know, because again, sometimes, like especially of late, you've had the Hardys main event a few shows and whatnot. So it does feel like it's a situation of like, it depends. It really depends type thing. So yeah, I'm not 1,000% sure still. I think the most definite one of these is Santana beating Dempsey then, probably. That's the one I'm probably most definite on, because there's the least sort of stakes. There's no title on the line. So I feel like you can easily give the win to the TNA guy there, because there's not as much riding on it. The thing is, it is very much like at a certain point, you've got to end this faction storyline, and that, like, again, if it's going to ride for 6 months and Santana has to fight this faction for 6 months, or fight through this faction for 6 months, that's actually kind of good, because, again, you know, it keeps him away from the title and keeps him doing something. Gives him a story, gives him something to work with, and, you know, like he's already, did he wrestle Dempsey? I think he did. Or am I thinking of somebody else? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I can't remember. Anyway, but still, like, if I don't know, because like then if you've got like these other guys like Stacks with the title, then Santana can be like the catalyst or help be the catalyst for somebody else to win the title. Same with Macklin, same with the Hardys. No, actually not the same with the Hardys because they're probably leaving before that happens, I think. So yeah, they can be catalysts or they can be themselves. I wouldn't see. Probably Macklin would be more of a catalyst for somebody else to win, I think. The world title. Maybe he could win back the international title, but then again, you could push him up into that main event scene as well, still. So I don't know, but yeah, I would see that they would be more either they like Santana could definitely be a catalyst for somebody winning the international title, but or maybe even the tag titles, and so could Macklin, but I see Santana winning back the title, the world title at least in 6 months or so, roughly. So I would say that, like, probably in that regard, you probably even need like shenanigans to happen in this match, like with Santana and Dempsey. If Santana wins, then does it really mean anything? That's what I'm saying. If he defeats Dempsey in a hardcore street fight, whatever, then it's going to be really hard for that to make sense, like in some regards, because the numbers game. So I said this a long time ago, and I'll say it now again. They need to bring back Lethal Lockdown or Lockdown. I really want them to bring back Lockdown. A lot of people have wanted them to bring back Lockdown. This is the feud to do it with. There's been other feuds and other things that have felt like maybe it could earn it, but this should earn it. This faction versus faction thing should earn it at the end of the day. Whoever you're like, and I don't know who, but whoever you're gonna go with in 6 months to beat these guys, or 7 months, or 8 months, or a year, I don't know, but surely not that long, but still, then it should be locked down, and they should say, that's it, we're done, no more, it's over, you guys have to leave, so, I don't know, it's still kind of tough with that, but for now, I'm going to move along. I think we've got 3 more matches to discuss. Leon Slater versus AJ Francis. What is this? Like, what is this? Like, this is what I mean by there's no one in that division. Maybe Leon should be fighting somebody from NXT, but I'm kind of, like I say, it's like kind of sick of that in many ways, but it does lead to a lot of great stories in many ways. And maybe what you're kind of trying to do with this is elevate Leon. Elevate Leon into the next level with beating or potentially beating Francis. I don't see Francis winning this X Division title. Makes no sense for him to win it. Like, you could have him be a great big heel in that division, but then there's hardly anyone for him to face anyway, so it's like, well, so what? If he had the title now and Leon was chasing, that'd be a great, like, thing, but he's not. Like, you could set that up, but then what are you going to do with Leon for 6 months or for whatever, to get him away from the title, keep him away from the title or whatever? He's got to have something else, or you've got to just say, okay, well, that's that, and let's move you on to the tag titles, or let's move you into the international title, or let's move you into the world title, or whatever. So, yeah, I'm right on Leon with this one somehow, some way. I don't know. Maybe even BDE gets involved. So we'll have to wait and see. But still, I kind of want to see more of, the feud, whatever's going to come in story-wise with this. So, I don't think there's much here yet. I think it's just starting to simmer. But still, I feel like I'm pretty set on that one. Though I was pretty set before, but now I'm probably pretty set. Final resolution, Matt Cardona versus Mace Warner street fight. Look, Matt has done a lot, and I don't know whether he's going back to WWE. It's like seemingly probably not. Maybe it was a one-off or whatever. Same with Nick Nemeth. Seems like it was a one-off or whatever. That's fine. But yeah, I don't know whether they might go back in the future. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see on that. But in that vein, like, you had Mace Warner win the last match. Normally, you would feel like the babyface is going to win here, but I feel like I want Mace to win or I think Mace should win because, again, I talked about this in a fairly recent video, that's probably about to be released at some point very soon. That you need to build up these new guys. Mace is still a new guy, hasn't really done a whole lot, and it's sort of a weird situation from last month, but whatever. But yeah, you can't be reliant on Matt Cardona being the guy and being this draw where you really haven't done a lot with him. He's lost virtually all the matches he's been in. So what's another one? He's not even signed to the company, realistically. So why would you have him win? You know what I mean? Like, why would you have him win? And then what are you going to do with him? Like, maybe you could say, oh, well, we're going to push him into the main event and do something with him there. I don't see that, dude, because, like, realistically, you need, I don't know, you need to think, like, you're boomeranging, if you know what I mean. If you're taking Matt Cardona into that main event, it's like, so what? And, like, for a more major pay-per-view, you can't have matches that are like, oh, so what? You need matches that everyone's going, oh, holy shit, we need to see this shit. You need drawing matches that people are like, oh, crap, so we better buy a ticket. Even, Genesis, like, the arena hasn't been announced. Like, nothing's really been announced, so hopefully soon they'll announce that. It probably has to be before Final Resolution. Or maybe it could be at Final Resolution because it's early in the month. But still. And you need to announce the card. So, I do feel like that needs a lot of build up. So, but yeah. Last match. Now, this is, like, again, this is going to contain some spoilers. So, if you've listened this far along, which, 90% of people don't, but whatever, this part is going to contain spoilers. There's already another video that is going up very soon that is going more in depth on this. At least in depth on the spoiler situation than what I'm going to go into here and my thoughts on that. But it is what it is. So, supposedly, this match is meant to be Kalani Jordan versus Danny Lerner versus Xia Brookside to triple the Knockouts title. But we know that Lei Ying Lee recently defeated Kalani Jordan on NXT Gold Rush. So I'm assuming it will be Lei Ying Lee versus Danny versus Xia in this match. Maybe Kalani will also be in it. or maybe Kalani will get a rematch at Genesis. I don't know. Or maybe she just won't. Who knows? Uh, like, that's the thing with these NXT things. It's like everything's in the air and you don't know anything, and they, anything could change at any minute. Basically, they could change their mind or whatever. So that's one of the big things. That's probably why I'm as on the fence as what I am with some of those matches. I do think that you could do something really cool with some of those matches, or start to do something cool with those matches, but it's like the only time thus far that they've, had somebody there for more than a month or so, it's like being Trick. So, like, now it's time to, we're gonna settle, and we're gonna be here for 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is, and this is gonna finish out our next calendar year. So I just expect that Lee will win this, like, somehow, some way. Like I said before, in like discussing who was gonna win this, I was thinking, and I think I was mostly saying it on the spoiler video, unfortunately, so I don't really think I ever really talked too much about that match, but the two four-way matches, and I think like maybe they didn't know what they were doing, but or maybe there was some other shenanigans that have gone on or something, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, I think like the idea of like, these two were meant to go together, go against each other, Zaya and Danny. Maybe there was that change also internally of saying, well, we actually had to, there was the decision to put the title on Lay, so now we're going to have both of them in the match or whatever for, reasons. And maybe you're going to have like, and I said this before in that it's like where you're going to have Zaya and Lay, who are tag team partners. It's like that awkward struggle between the two of them. That's like, yeah, we're tag partners, so I don't want to hit you type thing or whatever. But this is the spirit of competition, da 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 da, type thing in here. But I still feel like Lay will have to win this some way, somehow. And you could almost start to say, okay, let's focus in on Danny not just feuding with Lay, but let's focus in on Danny feuding with Zaya, for a little while or something. It's hard, again, as I said before, to be like in that tag team scene, because it's like, you're together, now you're apart, you're together, now you're apart, you're together, now you're apart, like type thing with a lot of these people, because there's so many spaces and so many things that need somebody to fill in for. So it's like, oh, well, we need you to be a singles person for now, we need you to do this or whatever, so that we've got somebody else in here. I don't know. I think the probable thing also was they wanted to protect Danny in some way. They wanted to make sure she doesn't lose, and it feels like, oh shit, we've just, not buried her, but we've sort of buried her a bit or whatever. So I feel like Danny's probably taking the pin, and she'll probably take it out on like Zaya or something, whatever. And then you might, have Danny and Lay like properly one-on-one at Genesis, to sort of, I don't know, maybe, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see more from that. So that's where I'm thinking with this one. And I think that's all of my thoughts thus far on the card and what the matches are and like what the story is. Obviously I feel like they're gonna have more. Like, I feel like there's gonna be more, especially like pre-show stuff, but especially story stuff. There's obviously going to be more story stuff built up before this show. So we'll be here and there every week, at least discussing like some of it. And then final like preview and review for it. And then we'll be also just looking anything for Genesis, anything for the new TV deal, all that stuff. So yeah, we're going to be keeping our eyes on and ears on everything. There have been numerous rumors. I don't want to go through them here, but I've kind of talked at length about so many things until something actually comes through and it's actually like, this is what's happening. I'm sick of saying all the speculation type thing, and I think a lot of people are like pretty sick of speculation too. So it's like, let's just leave it alone and see what actually happens and see where things land with the TV deal, media deal, whatever, all that stuff. So yeah, guys, hope you have enjoyed this one. That's pretty much it for this one. So hope you will join me again in another one.